And we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us in the world. Welcome to this week's live stream of The Bold Leap. I'm very excited today. I have the amazing and dynamic and gorgeous Ricki Pasinelli, not to be confused with
Well done.
Pasinelli, which is how I was saying her name very incorrectly. Welcome, welcome, Ricki.
Thanks for having me. I am beyond delighted to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
I am super excited. Just before we get started, I want to make sure that people can see us and people can hear us and that we are actually live. If you are joining us live and you can hear us and you can see us, can you please drop a heart emoji in the chat so we know that all of our tech is working? All right. People can see it. People can see us. People can hear us. Amazing. All right, so let's get started and dive right in. So Ricki, tell us a little bit about I haven't said anything about you except how to properly pronounce your name. Tell us a little bit about you and the work you do in the world.
Well, thanks for asking. So hi, Ricki Pasinelli. I am a growth strategist. And what that means is I get to help mid-sized companies anywhere from 15 million to 50 million reach their next level of growth. There's a very, very big likelihood that they've been in business for about a decade. They've reached the plateau in terms of their revenue growth. And this is where I come in to help get leaders from the heads down tactical day-to-day to heads up visionary strategy, move forward planning.
Love it. Love it. That's amazing. And so what got you? So this show is all about women specifically who have left corporate and transitioned into entrepreneurship. So you just told us a little bit about what you do now. How long have you been in business? When did you make the leap?
Yeah, no, good question. So I made the leap. Well, it's a little convoluted. I made the leap twice, but the second time was the key. In 2019, I had a long and storied career in strategic creative agencies. So working on brands, Fortune 500 brands. And in July of that year, I just blew it all up. I decided that my career wasn't moving forward. I was having my own stagnation and swirl in my head about what next looked like. So I took a break with the idea of going on my own, doing some side hustle work that I'd been wanting to work on while I was at the agency for all those years. And in the end, I ended up taking a corporate role in-house at an architecture products company. And my job there was to help them grow strategically and get ready for sale. About 2 years in, I realized that that wasn't going where I wanted it to go, but most importantly, it didn't match up with my core values. And I got out amicably, took a couple months off, and then started my own strategic growth consultancy for two reasons. One is I couldn't imagine or manifest the type of company that I was going to work for next or who I was going to work for next. And I have a very good friend who told me to stop being afraid. And start my own company. And so I did. I had a couple of clients who had been waiting to work with me, flashback to my 6-month break in 2019. And that was the beginning of this beautiful solopreneurship that I find myself in right now.
I love it. I love it. 2019 is when I blew up my career too.
Really?
Yeah. I went on this. So I always say that I loved my job until I didn't, because it's true. I loved my job until I didn't. I don't have any horror stories. It wasn't a toxic work environment. I actually loved my job. I worked in consulting and it was amazing. And then in 2019, I went on a trip. It was called Transformation in Tulum. And I thought I was going to go and eat healthy and work out every day. And when I got there, I found out that my 39-year-old cousin passed away and he left behind. He was the sole parent of an 8-year-old daughter. And that rocked my world because now I had 7 days to sit on a beach with these amazing women, not unlike our shared trip to Nashville.
Yeah.
And really reflect on what I wanted to do with my life, you know, like truly not what should I do, because I'd been doing what I thought I should be doing and I was really successful at it. But it wasn't my true calling. I wasn't building a legacy. And I really started asking myself different questions. So yeah, then I came home and a couple months later I got fired from my job, but I really did hate it then. Yeah.
It was meant to be. It was totally meant to be.
Yeah. Like going back to the values, it wasn't, you know, my team, the leadership team had changed dramatically. And it just it wasn't the same company it was when I started. So
yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, I can feel that viscerally because I loved it until I didn't anymore either. Yeah. Right. I mean, I was at my big giant career, you know, company for 15 years. About 3 years before I left, I started the journey with an executive coach of what I wanted to do next, what I wanted my legacy to be. And I wasn't tied to the outcome. I was only tied to the process of figuring out what that would look like. And I knew, and I think yours it's so sudden, right? That trip to Tulum was, and the passing of your person was a big wake-up call for me. I knew exactly what my triggers were, right? I knew that if my freedom started to get compromised, I knew that if I was going to be micromanaged on a daily basis, and I knew that if I wasn't finding the passion and the fire when I walked in the door, that wasn't the place I needed to be anymore. So I was hyper aware of these things. I wasn't looking for them. But as they presented themselves, the writing on the wall became so vibrant and clear. And I remember, I'm in Tucson right now, and I remember we were here and it was the morning and I was lying in bed and my husband said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm summoning up moments of courage," which happened to be my intention in 2019. I'm going to resign. Like all of the triggers are there. This was on Mother's Day of 2019. Wow. All of the triggers are there. I don't know what I'm doing any longer. I don't have the fire in my belly that I should have. I leave more depleted at the end of the day than when I came in. They're not getting the best, and they deserve to have somebody in my role as an executive leader show up in the right way with the right heart and the right head. And it wasn't me any longer. So this was Sunday. I flew back to Seattle on Monday and resigned a week later. And after my CEO picked his job off the ground, because I'd been there for so long, I was such a fabric of the place.
Sure.
He actually came around and understood why I needed to go. And it really had nothing to do with any particular person. It had to do with me. And I needed to serve myself and take care of me. And Lisa, I don't know how old you are, but for me, it was like when I went into my 50s, I knew I wanted to go in with total and complete clarity of what that legacy and what next looked like. And granted, you can't predict what's going to happen 5 minutes from now. Yeah. But I could at least have an understanding of the things that fuel me and fill my soul, not my delicate ego shell.
I honestly have goosebumps because that really spoke to me. And I love that you brought up age because I do think it matters. So I'm 55 and I have no problem saying that. I think aging is a gift. The alternative sucks.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
Also, in 2019, I was 49 and I was very aware I was turning 50. Very aware I was turning 50.
Yeah, right.
And you know what's interesting, Ricki, is before then, I had never considered my age. Like I had never, when men, I've been with men when they were turning 30 and they went through this whole thing, or they were turning 40 and they went through this whole thing. I never felt the way I felt when I was turning 50 as I did other years. Yeah. I don't know what it was about that number, but it was, for me anyway, I felt like at that time in my life, I was very single. I had given up my entire life for my career, like not on purpose. Like I didn't feel like I was in suffering, but I didn't have kids. I wasn't married. And I really felt like, what is my legacy going to be? Is it going to be continue working for other people, just making more money and getting more status? Like for what? I already have the best life. Like what else, you know? And so I really, like, to your point, started to look inward a little bit, probably for the first time in my entire life. And when I got out, what I realized is that you had way more self-awareness than me. Like, what I realized is that I was just so disconnected from myself that I didn't even know what myself looked like anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you this. I have self-awareness because I invested in an executive coach because I knew something was up.
Yeah.
Right. To your point, I knew I was turning 50.
Yeah.
Right. I knew something was up. Something wasn't sitting right. I couldn't name it. So that was the thing for me that was the transition point, because like you, well, I thought it was all about my career, but what I didn't share in the beginning, and I just launched into work, is that I'm a mom. I've got 2 grown children. I've been married and with the same person for 32 years. And we had decided a long time ago that I was going to have the flexible career and he was going to have the breadwinning career.
Right.
So when I talk about ego shell, right, like stepping into that role at the agency, for those 15 years, knowing that I was going to be passed over for promotions, that I needed to be flexible, that I was a contractor for a large part of those 15 years. I knew something just wasn't sitting right. So I'm 58. So I resigned from there. I was 53 in 2019. Okay. And I got mono when I resigned, by the way, if that tells you anything about how much stuff I was pushing down and pushing down and pushing down. And it's not from kissing frat guys. So when you get mono at 53, it's a big deal. Like, you are really, really sick. But it was an interesting time. And I'll go back to what you said. It's like, there's something about going into that next decade that is really, really life-changing. And for me, I'm much more self-aware now because I knew I needed someone to help me or push me. I had a really good mentor who had an executive coach that she loved. And Mary Beth became my executive coach up until the last few years, when I decided that I needed something different, more spiritual, a little bit more woo, a little bit more soul searching.
Yeah.
But I worked with an executive coach for a really long time, and I really invested so that I could be self-aware and know what my triggers are clearly, know what my core values are, and know what are the things that feed my soul and that I'm passionate about.
Oh my gosh. Like, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, because it's so interesting, because I've interviewed quite a few people now on this show, and all of our stories are different, and yet they're the same, right? Like, if I think back to my journey, I invested in a business coach because I knew that I wanted to start an online business. I knew that I wanted it to be scalable and profitable and make millions of dollars. Like, I know exactly what my vision looks like.
Right.
Like, I really started at the top. I knew what my vision was, not kind of what I want my day-to-day look like. This is my vision. So I invested in a business coach who taught me the strategy and all the things. But then where my roadblock was the woo, was the spiritual, because I will tell you, when I started working with that business coach, he had a team of coaches, like mindset coaches. I skipped all that. I was like, just tell me how to set up my system.
Right.
Like, just tell me how to do the things, because I want to create a scalable business. And it's just funny that the thing that stopped me was my own limiting beliefs. Right. And then like you, I had to then hire a different coach, a coach that was going to help me really connect to myself. But isn't that so interesting how it's like society teaches us that we need to do more things, but really the answer is connecting to ourselves.
It is 100%. I mean, we have a mutual friend from our Nashville weekend who I saw her journey working with my current coach, Renee DeVore. I'm going to name drop.
Yeah, name drop.
I'm name dropping. So, I watched her journey, and it was so different than the first this, then this, then this, then this. And I did a lot of soul searching work with my original executive coach, but there were still these blocks. It's exactly what you said. I still had like this wall that I couldn't seem to penetrate, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't see like the path forward. So it's interesting that you talk about, like, I wanted to make millions of dollars and do this and this and this. I was on the day-to-day path. I want to have time so that I can go into the wilderness and walk in the mountains or ride my bike or go skiing or socialize with my friends or whatever it was. So I was really having this super narrow focus. While it's very important of how I design my day, I also needed to look at more of what was next from an abundance mindset. And if y'all read my posts today, I start talking about that journey and how it happened, which is exactly why I hired Renee, why we're working together, and the changes that have happened even over we started working together in October, right? The changes that have happened for me since then are incredible. So to your point, you need both, right? Yeah. You need both, and you really shouldn't do one without the other. Yeah. And I always put the hashtag in kind of woo, because while I'm not woo forward, it is the foundation for everything that I do. It has to be there, because if you're not taking care of your heart, then I don't know how you take care of your head.
Yeah. It's so true. Like, I remember when I first started building my business, and again, I was very disconnected from myself, and really my ego was running the show. So then when my ego, when things weren't working because I was out of alignment, I was 100% out of alignment with who I am and how I want to show up in the world. And the coach that I was working with was very, it was very much like bro marketing, which appealed to me, frankly, because from corporate, that spoke to me. I was like, let's get this shit done, Yep. But then when I got in it and I had to actually sell my own services, like my name is on the logo, my name is the brand. When I got to selling, I didn't like that pushy, it's all or nothing attitude. Like, I mean, my whole life I've said, you're in or you're out. It's black or it's white. We don't work in shades of gray. Like, what kind of messed up nonsense is that?
Right.
Yeah. So I had to really connect to myself and really understand what was going on internally. And then what I learned through that process was to get into alignment. And now, like, I'm really passionate about teaching my clients to trust themselves. Like, it's so important to trust yourself. You have all the answers.
Right. You do. It's finding that white space.
Yeah.
To really, I don't know, chew on on what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm so not good at talking about this stuff, but I did the human design thing where you enter your birth date and where
I love human design. Oh, I'm
obsessed with it. And then I got back like this. It was probably like 25 pages, but it felt like 1,000 pages, and I could never get through it. Like, it just was too much. Like, there was too many things to consider, and there was too much information in there. But while we were in Nashville a couple weeks ago, Renee actually sent me a scaled down version of it, of how it pertains to my professional life and my personal life in bite-sized terms. And I'm sorry, but I need stuff to be fed to me in a way that appeals to my heart.
Yeah.
And like those 1,000 pages, again, complete and total exaggeration, but those 1,000 pages like completely overwhelmed me, and I just could never read it. And I never did. But over the weekend, I read the document that Renee sent me. And here's the thing that I found most interesting. And this is the point of what you just said, that there's 4 core things that make up who you are in your human design. And then it translates them professionally. But the 4th one for me, and I can't remember what it's called, but essentially it means the way I process things is to find the white space, and then the answers come. I'm very quick on my feet. Yeah. Like, I can derail a meeting in 3 seconds, right? Like the funnies that want to come out of my body, like I have to control, because I've got a smart ass response to anything anyone says. But when it comes to me and my business and what I'm doing and really making impact, I need time to gnash on, to chew on it for a while and think about it. So a great example is this. I'm putting together a proposal for a client, and there's something that hasn't been sitting right. And I've been tapping into my front row, my board of advisors, whatever you want to call them. And it finally occurred to me this weekend, as I was sitting in silence at my desk on Saturday morning, trying to write this proposal. Oh, I don't have all the information. Oh, wait, I don't have all the information. So my pushback this week is going to be about, you know what? I started to put together the proposal. This is what I'm writing about, but here's what I'm realizing. I actually don't have all the information, and here's the things that I need in order to put something cohesive together. So my point is, it just takes a little bit of time to understand what the thing is.
Yeah.
That is going to propel you forward.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also
because we don't know what we don't know.
We don't know what we don't
until
know.
We know.
Until we know. And sometimes you just need, part of the thing that I'm working on is, while I'm a total and complete extrovert, I do need to retreat and be a hermit and have that reclusive time where I don't have any stimuli coming at me, so that the answers can then come.
Yeah.
And that has to be designed. And I think, as we think about how do we make bold leaps, I love the name of this LinkedIn Live. I think it's so great. But as we think about making bold leaps, like, you have to find the time for yourself in order to bridge whatever that next giant leap is.
Yeah.
Or else you're just scrambling to get there, and you're in reactive mode. And what I was finding is I can't live like that.
Yeah, same. So interesting that you say that, because I feel like when I definitely would identify as an extrovert. I love people. I love being in the energy of people. I love hugging people and, touching people. My love language is touch. And I also need my alone time. I need my morning time is mine. I get up super early. I journal. I do all the things. And that is when answers come to me.
Right.
And that's when I feel like I'm my most creative, because otherwise I'm just always going. Because my human design, I don't know what your human design is. Mine's generator. And a generator, think of a generator, it's like the Energizer Bunny. You just go. Yeah. So like, if that's your human design, you are meant to get shit done, right? That's what we do. And that's what we pride ourselves on. And we also need to recharge our batteries and slow down.
Yeah. Do you know what your two numbers are?
5-2 sacral generator.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this. So I'm 6-2 sacral. So I'm role model and hermit. Right? I mean, you have that hermit piece of it too. And you need that time in order. I don't even know if I would frame it up as recharge. It's more just to like sit and be.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of energy, like you, from people.
Yeah, same.
Right. Right. Like I want more. I want more. I want more. I want more. My word bucket, is never really full. And I want to keep talking and learning and asking questions and being around the energy of people. But I'm finding, and I don't know if it's as I get older, as I get smarter, as I become more self-aware. I don't know what the reason is, but I want more time alone.
Yeah, same. And my partner always says, wow, you can really sit in silence for a long time. I'm like, I can, because I like my own company. Like I really do. I like just hanging out with myself, with my dog beside me, just sleeping.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, I want to get back to your transition. Oh, we could talk so much, because you mentioned a few times you were so afraid. What were you afraid of? Because I think that a fear is kind of where a lot of people who are listening, maybe they're in that place, right? Where they're afraid and they don't know where to go and they don't know what to do. So I find it helpful to listen to other people's journey and, hear what they were afraid of. So what was going through your mind?
Yeah, it's such a loaded question. So I'll start with this. I typically operate from a place of love. So admitting that I was fearful was the first step. What was I afraid of? I'll tell you what I was afraid of. I was afraid of not making money. So total financial scarcity. As a reminder, I'm not the breadwinner, and I'm okay with that. But I was afraid of not pulling my weight. I was afraid that we would be destitute. These are, a lot of that is inner child stuff that comes from, when you're growing up and the messages. But I'm not going to go there today. So that was one major thing, financial scarcity. The second thing was I'd worked for companies for years. All the accounting was done. I had designers that would create presentations. I had copywriters who could help me with proposals. This is pre-chat GPT, people.
Right.
I had resources at my disposal. So giving those up was scary because how do I do it? But the most important piece of this puzzle was I didn't know what I was doing. I was afraid that people were going to know and find out that I actually didn't know what I was doing. And I was just faking it until I made it.
Yeah.
And it was stifling. So you were a consultant. I come from an agency, which is essentially being a consultant.
Same, yeah.
You are literally beat up every day about anything that comes out of your mouth and anything that gets put on paper. The pixel pushing that happens between the first conversation with the client until you hand that project off is stifling. I mean, you are just taking in so much criticism every single day. So when I went on my own, I was afraid of the haters. I was afraid of the judgers. I was afraid of not being enough because I never felt like I was enough when I was in my, long time career. I was banging my head against the wall. Is that going to happen again? Am I going to have to work with those clients? Like there's all of this noise that creates fear.
Yeah.
And when I realized, I want to be clear, I'm still doing the work. It never goes away, but I have learned to quiet those noises, the cacophony, right? Of the day to day.
Yeah.
Because one, I have clients who freaking love me and who value what I bring to the table. And I've had the same clients for a really long time. It's very rare that I have space in my calendar to add a new client because they hang on, which speaks volumes about the value that I bring and how I show up and what I do. I'm still worried about money sometimes. I can't help it, right? That's what a lot of what I'm working on with Renee is that abundance mindset. I worry, are they going to love me? Which doesn't matter. My shadow self is that I want to be liked by everybody. So learning about the roles that people play in my life that maybe are just for an hour or a week or a month. And that's enough. And I'm enough. So all of those things are frightening in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yes.
Frightening. And
they're
then
terrifying.
But here's my brand essence is blind enthusiasm. So in my personal life, I don't have those fears. I am willing to leap and to show up. I'm not irresponsible, but I will do a lot of things on a whim because it's going to engage a different part of my human form. It's going to make me slightly uncomfortable, but I want to do it. It's going to yield different results. In my professional life, I was scared to death.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that because I felt all the same things, like all the same things. And I remember hearing this description once of this guy I followed on Instagram, and he called himself a delusional optimist. And I was like, I want to be a delusional optimist. I don't know what it was, Ricki, about that specific, descriptor, but I was like, I want to be a delusional optimist. I want to just think that everything's going to work out and that it's all going to be okay.
Right.
And but I went through all of that. I think it's just a natural kind of evolution. And like for me anyway, the way I got over it was talking about it and actually talking about my fears and realizing like everybody feels that way. And I'll give you an example because I feel like it's helpful because I'm on the other side of it now. But I remember when I started my business, and keep in mind, like, I think for us or women like us who are used to performing at a high level and working with like a lot of money that's not ours and managing it quite effectively, right? Like managing the P&L spreadsheets and, being able to confidently have conversations and know where money is and whatever. When I started my business, I was a disaster. Like I didn't treat my business like a business, which I was very, very judgy of myself about because I know better, right?
Right.
And I was embarrassed to talk to my accountant. I was embarrassed to talk to my friends who had businesses because I felt like they're going to judge me. And then when I finally, and when I say finally, I mean, it was a long time after, like a couple of years, at least 2 years, when I finally got up the courage, I wouldn't even call my accountant. Like I just didn't know who to talk to. When I finally got up the courage to call somebody, it was actually a friend of mine's husband who is an accountant, like professional. I was so scared to talk to him because I knew that he had right out of college, like sold a company that he's founded for like $8 million. We were like 20 nothing, right? So I was scared to talk to him, but I thought he was just so smart, you know? But I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm going to talk to someone I know and I don't think he'll judge me. Okay. When I talked to him, Ricki, he laughed at me not because he thought it was dumb, but because he thought that he couldn't believe that I thought that everybody had their crap together, you know? He was like, oh, Lisa, you're so cute. He goes, what do you think? Everybody just sends me their beautiful Excel spreadsheet telling me where all the money went that year. He's like, no. He goes, everyone's a disaster. He goes, and at least your disaster is not that much, like it's not that significant to the grand scheme of things because you're just starting out. And can I just tell you that when I got off the phone with him, I really felt like, huh. And then I wasn't like embarrassed or ashamed. Like now I'm doing a live stream talking about, you know, what a nightmare it was. Like, I think that we just really put so much pressure on ourselves to just get it right, you know? And if we were, and this isn't like a judgy thing, but it's just like, if we felt more safe to share our vulnerabilities, then we would realize that everybody's kind of in the same boat. Like whether it's your finances or your operations or your go-to-market or your, you know, whatever it is.
Or your script for, you know, having a conversation with a brand new client. I mean, this theme of shame has been coming up a lot lately when I talk to other women, primarily around that embarrassment of not having your proverbial stuff together. Are we allowed to cuss on this? We're not allowed to cuss on this.
Well, they just exit out, but it depends on if it's YouTube or LinkedIn. You come as you are.
One of my core values should be potty mouth, but it's not. So, but there's so much shame around what we do and asking for help and asking questions and feeling like we have to have our stuff together. And frankly, to your point, no one does. And we have to keep talking about it. Talking about it. I'm so tired of the words imposter syndrome or the phrase imposter syndrome. But I was just interviewed for a professional magazine article whose name is not coming to me at the moment, but I think there's bold in that too. And it talked, you know, the prompt was, how did you overcome your imposter syndrome? And I don't talk about imposter syndrome, but I do talk about the fear and the judge and feeling, you know, feeling that visceralness of scarcity. And we have to just keep saying the words out loud. We have to know who our people are. We have to know who's in our front row who can help us unlock those moments. And for me, it's not just women, right? I need the male and the female energy coming in to dispel my beliefs and my fear and the BS that swirls around in my brain every day. And again, I've said it's quieter than it was before, but it's still there. And it never goes away. And you made a point, everybody has it, right? Like I work with badass CEOs. I have friends who are very, very successful, to your point, right? 9-time founders. You know, I've got another friend, the one who told me to stop being afraid and start my own business. I think he sold like 5 different businesses. He's the CEO that goes in and fixes everything. He has fear. Showing up in a certain way and being judged. I think we all have it. It's just how it manifests externally that then quiets the voices.
Well, and the thing is, when you step into that fear, right? Like when you make the decision, okay, I'm afraid, and that's okay, right? Like I
Okay.
have this fear and it's okay. Like stop trying. I mean, for me anyway, I had to just stop trying to not be afraid. Like sometimes you have to just take action afraid and know that the next time it'll be easier. And when you do that and you realize you didn't die, because you don't, then that's what builds the confidence to continue to do it again and again. Right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I've written about this, I talk about it a lot, is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. It's exactly the same thing, right? It's taking that blind enthusiasm that is my brand essence in my personal life and porting it over, and remember to port it over into my professional life as well. Right. And remembering just to take the leap. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Somebody's going to tell you, no, you're not going to win that project. Maybe you're going to say the wrong thing. You're not going to die from any of those things.
Yeah. And usually, at least in my experience, nobody's really judging you anyway. I mean,
nobody cares anyway.
Nobody cares. That's the thing. Like nobody cares if you have the right answer. Nobody cares except you.
Yeah, it's true. So I used to teach public speaking. So a little history. When I graduated with a communications bachelor's degree from San Diego State, I went into selling radio time, and it did not fuel my soul at all. Like it was a terrible job for me. I know people have been very successful. I know they've enjoyed it. For me, it was just like, oh my God, kill me now. But my roommate was in grad school at the time and suggested that I go to grad school. So I went to grad school, and now I have a master's degree in communication. But while I was in grad school, I had the opportunity to teach public speaking. And there's 4 different types of speeches that you do throughout a semester. And one of the things that I always reminded my students of was this: nobody knows the script except for you. If you make a mistake, we're not going to know. And it doesn't matter. What I'm judging you on is how you show up in a room and how you take control and the light that you bring and the information that you give us and the takeaway. I don't care if you messed up on a word here or a phrase there, or you left off an entire paragraph. In fact, I don't even know as a listener.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We get so caught up in the things that we care about, or the things that we think matter that people are going to care about, that in reality, when you take a step back and actually think about it, nobody cares as much as you do. And it probably doesn't matter.
No. I remember just hearing this a long time. I mean, I've heard it a gajillion times, but the first time I heard somebody say, you're not afraid of failing, you're afraid of people seeing you fail.
100%.
I was like, that is so, because we're not afraid of failing. Like, think about it. If we were afraid of failing, we would never leave our house. I mean, literally.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah. I mean, we fail at everything. Think about it. You have a conversation with someone, they misunderstood, you failed. But you don't take that as, like, you don't say, oh, I'm a failure because someone misunderstood something we said. You just say it again in a different way. Right? Like, we are actually masters at failing because we fail at everything when we do it the first time. Right?
For sure. For sure.
We're not afraid of failing. We're afraid of others seeing us fail and judging us for our perceived failure.
Right. And, the ones that are going to judge. So I can only talk about my LinkedIn content, right? It was so hard for me to post for so long because I was so, to your point, afraid of people judging me if something didn't land, or what I said, or the words that I chose, or a typo, right? A typo. We're all humans. And what I realized was that the people who are going to judge you are always going to judge you anyway. And they're probably not going to comment, and it doesn't matter. And you're never going to bring them along. So at that point, I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
And hope that it reaches the people who it needs to reach. And if it reaches the people it doesn't, if it reaches the people that are going to judge me, fine, go ahead and judge me. I don't care. I know this is important, and I'm willing to fail, right? I'm willing to misstep. I'm willing to make a typo in order to get the message out, in order to do the job that I need to do, in order to do the thing that calls me, right? In order to help you make impact, whatever that is.
Yeah. And the thing is, the people, like, Nobody who is judging you, let's just say people are judging you. Nobody that's doing that is somebody who's in the arena. Like, I don't know any other content creators or any other entrepreneurs who are, out there doing their thing every day, who are taking time out of their day to bring you down.
100%.
They're just not, right? They're just not. I mean, if anything, at least in my experience, if I see somebody on the internet shaming someone or just being rude to someone, I literally always defend them, because I feel like it's and maybe this is just something I should work on, but I do feel like it's my moral obligation to stand up for them, because they're people, we're just out there trying to spread good in the world, do our thing. And someone's taking time out of their day when they can just scroll right on to not be nice. Like,
this is always my visual.
That's not okay.
Yeah, it's not. It's funny. Something happened a couple of weeks ago that really irked me for a while to that point. And while I'm not I'll just admit it, I won't publicly call someone out. Like, it's just too uncomfortable for me. And maybe that's something I need to work on. But I did send a private message to something I saw that just was really not well done or well said or well positioned in a public forum. And unfortunately, this person didn't actually understand the intent by which it was sent and what I was trying to get across. And I just decided, you know what, I said my piece. I tried to say it as democratically as possible. But at the end of the day, I wasn't going to get into a back and forth dialogue about what that person said versus what I said versus what this other. I just wanted to say my piece. And I have to tell you, and I'm going to admit this to all these people that are watching, like, that is one of the first times that I've ever done that and put it in writing. Because it's to your point, I believe deeply, right, that the judgers out there, if they're going to take time out of their busy day to write something, then they're opening themselves up to judgment as well. But I typically will just pass it on by, because I have a little bit of fear. I don't want to get into the conversation. I don't want to get into the conversation publicly. My intention this year is truth, right? And revealing those things about me and myself that I wouldn't necessarily want people to see or want to share. So that was a big step for me. And I love that you said that you feel like it's your moral obligation. Like, I feel it, but I don't do anything about it. And this was a big step to do something about it. I did it privately because it's what I had really been asking that part. That was my intent. This conversation should have happened privately, yet you chose to make it public.
Yeah. And you get to have it how you want it, right? Like, I don't think there's any right or wrong way, right? I do have friends on the internet who are very public and put good work into the world. And because of their social reach, right, because they have a lot of followers and their social reach, like, they get a lot of hate on them. And I like, for me, these people are like, they're my girls,
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. And so if I want to see it before them, so they can see that, like, someone's standing up for them, and, maybe I don't have to get involved. And look, I only write one comment, and then I love that you do. I love that you do. I've just, talk about fear. That's in there for me. Yeah, because I have, like, one person in particular. Her name's Christine Lavoba. Hey, Chris, I love you. She gets a lot of hate because she's strong. She has a beautiful business, a beautiful family, like a lot of things a lot of people want. And for whatever reason, people like to hate on her. And it's always someone who's not in the arena. And it's always someone who's not her ideal client. And it's always someone she's not talking to, because she works with high achieving women. Okay. So it's never the high achieving woman profile. It's always someone else. I'll leave it at that. And instead of just scrolling on, anyway, I know a lot of people are really afraid of that. But the way I look at it is, if you are in a place in your business where people are, stopping to comment and the comments aren't so nice, then I just tell myself, and this is a belief I took on because it serves me, because we get to choose our beliefs, people. it serves me that my social capital is increased. And isn't that cool that people think that my platform is so big that they want to push their agenda? But what I will also say is, and I learned this from Jasmine Star a gajillion years ago, I remember her specifically saying when she started getting a lot of hate on the internet, bless, block, delete. And that is my motto. I will literally I will engage once to give you an opportunity, because sometimes people say things and it's misinterpreted and it's not meant to be, and then the person will say, oh, that wasn't really my intent. Or sometimes I don't know, I don't always get it right. Sometimes my own bias that I don't even know exists, right? My unconscious bias, somebody's calling me out on it. I'm open to conversation.
Totally.
Right. But if somebody's there to just be mean, then forget it. No mean girls. No mean girls. I want to be aware of time because I could talk to you all day. What are your top 3 lessons that you've learned along the journey?
Oh, such a good question. Okay, let me see if I can whittle it down in my head. Okay, first one. Remain curious. Always ask questions. Always. Curiosity so I mentor a lot of early career 20-something folks, and curiosity is king or queen, depending on where you're coming from. I think it's very important. That's the first thing. Build your network, build your network, build your network, build your network. I have never used my resume to apply for a job. It has 100% been a conversation from someone in my network who knew someone who recommended me, who referred me, who thought I'd be a great fit. But I have never blindly applied to a job in the entirety of my career, and it's a long one. Okay, so curiosity, networking. And I think the third one and most important is know your core values. Know what you stand for. 187 statistically significant percent. Without knowing your core values, I don't know how we make decisions that activate our soul over our ego, right? I've taken jobs in my career, even though I didn't blindly apply to them, but I have made decisions that were outside of my core values. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that those jobs did not work out for me.
Yeah.
In any capacity. It was uncomfortable. I was wrestling with myself every day. There was so much cognitive dissonance that knowing my core values was really important. And one of the things that I do is I teach a core values workshop for that exact reason, because there are so many solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and leaders who tell you they know what their core values are, but they're not written down, they're not defined for them, and they're not activated. So those are really my 3 things, which, by the way, curiosity and building relationships are part of my list of core values. It also happened to be my first 2 lessons that I've learned in my career. So
I love that. And I love that. First of all, curiosity is something that I really leaned into as an entrepreneur. I don't know. I think that probably because when I was working corporate, I didn't really get to be curious. It's kind of like you're told what to do all the time. I was curious with my clients, but you get what I mean. I didn't really get to lean into it. And the thing that I love about curiosity is even if you kind of disagree with somebody, but you remain curious and open to conversation, I feel like you kind of always get to a point where you do agree on something, if you stay curious. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of jumping to judgment, which I think is our natural go-to just based on learned behaviors. And networking, well, you and I met through networking, right?
Right.
Every single person I've talked to on this show is I met through networking. I love that you said that, because when I used to do career coaching, which is what I did before business coaching, that's what I taught too, is build your network. And core values, one of my lead magnets is core values, is literally the first thing. Look at that. I love that.
They're right in front of me every day. Well, they were off to the side today because the I cleaned my desk, but there was another day.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, one of my core values is fun. And I've decided, is that's yours too? Of course it is. Of course it is. This does not surprise me. But to your point, like when you know your core values, that's your North Star. And when you make decisions from that, right? Because we're always presented with opportunities that sound great in the moment, but does it align with your core values? Does it align with the life you want to live? Right. And if it doesn't, then it's a no. Like it's an easy no.
It's a hard no. And, the last corporate job I had, I took it based on money and title. And guess what? None of those things are on this sticky note, right? Yeah. None of those things. So am I surprised that I lasted 2 years and that was it? And I felt like I was banging my head against the wall. I probably shouldn't be, but I was. And until I did some of the deeper work, during that time and then post that role, it became apparently clear to me. And it was exactly why I needed to start my own company. So that I could live my core values every single day, so that I could pick the types of clients that I want to work with. So they're interviewing me as much as I'm interviewing them. Right. And I think it's critical in how we live our lives. Are they the same for my company? They probably are. Have I done them for my company? Admittedly, no. But it's important that I have my own and that I know that. And probably the work to do for me this year, as my intention is truth, is that I need to do them for my company as well.
Mine for my company are very similar because I feel like as the leader of my company, that if my company is not aligned with me and who I am, then that disconnect.
What are you doing?
I mean, my company literally has my name in it. So, but I'm still working on my business. I am not my business. That's a story for another day. Pretty good at it now though, but it took me a while.
So can I ask you, what are your 3 lessons? What are your 3 top lessons? I would love to hear from you.
My 3 top lessons. Oh my gosh. Now you really put me on
the spot. The interviewee turns into the interviewer.
My 3 top lessons are, I would say you are your biggest critic. Nobody's judging you like you are judging yourself. One of my biggest lessons that I do live by is you don't have to believe every crazy thought you think. You don't have to believe every crazy thought you think, and you can train your brain to look for the thing you want. Because guess what happens when you're looking for the thing you want? You see it everywhere.
You see it
like
everywhere.
Ask any woman who's ever carried a baby, how many pregnant women she saw during that time.
Everyone. Such a good point.
Right? Yeah. You're shopping for a car. You're looking at a specific one. That's all you see on the road.
Right.
Where were those cars before? Right. So look for what you want. You don't have to believe every crazy thing you say. And confidence comes from taking messy action. Right. I think that people think I speak a lot on confidence and confidence building and showing up as your authentic self. And I will tell you that confidence comes from taking action. And oftentimes people think that, you're just born with confidence, or, they just think that confidence, some people have it and some people don't, but confidence is a skill and we can learn anything. I would probably say this is my third and biggest one is you can learn anything that's a skill. You can literally learn anything. How cool is that? We can change our brains. We can always grow. We can always learn. And if you're learning something every single day and you're leaning in with curiosity, then every day your world just gets bigger and your brain actually can change its composition. Like I'm obsessed with neuroscience right now. It's so cool. So I'd say, was that 3?
That's 3.
Yeah.
That's 3 really deep, meaningful lessons. I love it. Thank you. I like how you frame them up.
Thanks. I'll have to listen to the recording. I have no idea.
I wrote them down. So
Okay. Before we go, how can everybody find you if people are watching? The chat's been blowing up. It's been really hard. Ashley, Lindsay, Cornelius. Oh my gosh. You all had a lot to say.
Oh, I want to read the chat.
Jennifer, Ashley, Kayla. Oh, we got a lot going on. We'll answer you all when we're done. But where can we find you? Where do you like to hang out? How can people connect with you?
Yep. So I do not have.
Can
I
they?
do. I do not have a website yet.
Okay. That's okay.
Coming soon. I hope. Not a priority, but you can find me on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time there. I'm just recently back after taking a 6-month hiatus. So buckle up, people, because there's a lot of good stuff coming. I'm on Instagram, and I'm on plenty of podcasts here and there, and over yonder. So those are the places you can find me. I'm great at responding. I love the comments. I love the DMs.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Ricki. Anything else you want to share? Anything we didn't cover? I know I want to respect everybody's time.
There's a million things we didn't cover, but we'll have another conversation. This was phenomenal. Thank you for your thoughtful and fantastic questions. One of my mottos is be there, be talked about. So I was so glad to show up today and spend time with you. This has been awesome. Thank you it's been an honor. Thank you for having me, really.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and for sharing your love and your light and your genius and your wisdom and your energy and all of it with us. I love you. And we'll see you all again next week. Same time, same place. We're here every week at 12 p.m. Eastern. I have to remember it's Eastern Daylight Time now. I need to change my whole marketing from EST to EDT. I mean, who can remember these things? Yeah. Why can't we live in a time? I mean, why can't I live in a time zone where it just stays the same? Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.